Welcome to SwissWatchExpo. If you are on the market for a Rolex timepiece and you're not quite sure exactly which one to go for, today I'm going to be going over some of the most popular models that we sell here today, so stay tuned. Welcome back to SwissWatchExpo. So you might be in the market for maybe your first Rolex, or maybe you're wanting to add something to your collection. And today I want to go over some of the 3 top selling models that we have here. And most of the times people go for these models because of the price point. It is very compelling to look at these timepieces and look at the prices of them. But a lot of the times, if you do have a little bit of a larger wrist size, you may not know what these might look like. And a lot of the times we will give a courtesy call to make sure that you are aware of the case sizes for some of these models. So the first one we're going to look at today is the Rolex Cellini, and it is one of Rolex's first dress watches that they came out with. And to me, this is more of like a vintage inspired size. So this is going to be somewhere around the 31 to 32 millimeter range. It's kind of right in between. And the price point on this one is very compelling because you can find some of these models for, for just a few $1,000s on our website. So with this one here, you do have a beautiful dial, especially with the anniversary dial on this particular one, but you can find these in all different color styles. Now with this one here, because it is a vintage size, it is a little bit on the smaller size. So when you think of like a lady's Rolex Datejust right now, those are going for about 31 millimeters at today's age. So with the Rolex Cellini, it is just slightly larger than the largest ladies watch that Rolex has to offer. So a lot of the times we will give a courtesy call when we do see that someone has placed an order on this, because if you do have a larger wrist size, this is going to look like a really tiny dress watch for your wrist. Now, if you are looking for a vintage size, this is going to be a great option for you because it is a little bit on the smaller side. It's something that you can throw on the wrist and it's going to look really nice. It's not going to be very cumbersome to wear. And I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like on my wrist. All right, so as a reference, I have about a 6 3/4 to 7-inch wrist. So for me personally, I probably could wear something like the Rolex Cellini here, but I would still think it's a little bit on the small side, especially with these modern watches now reaching more towards an average of like a 40, 41 millimeter. This might appear just a little bit on the small end. So when you are looking on the website, just be aware that we do list it on our product description. If you just scroll down on any of our listings, we will show you the actual case size itself. And then the great thing too is if you're just not quite sure, we can offer a FaceTime call and maybe get you connected with someone that might have a very similar wrist size to you, and we can model it before you go ahead and place your order. But of course, we do try our best to give you a courtesy call after you place your order to just ensure that you are aware of the case size of this one, because you can see it is a little bit small even on my smaller wrist. All right, so next up, our most popular model is going to be the Rolex Air-King, because it is a very simple dial. It doesn't have a date on it, and it's something that does come in different color combinations. So if you are looking for a nice sporty watch that isn't too flashy, the Air-King might be a really great option for you. And of course, these do come in various different colors, and the most popular colors that we do sell is going to be the black, silver, and the blue dials on these. And of course, you can find these in different variations. Now this one here is in a 34 millimeter case size. So again, we are still reaching into that kind of smaller end of the watches, because again, most watches nowadays are reaching more that 40 to 41 millimeter size. So again, the price on this is very compelling because it is kind of an entry level model to the Rolex line. And to show you what this looks like on my wrist. Now, for me personally, on my wrist size with a 6 3/4 inch wrist, I don't mind this size at all because I actually really enjoy wearing vintage sized watches. So for me, I kind of like the smaller sized watch. But again, if you are used to wearing something like a Submariner or GMT Master 2 or even a Yacht Master, this is going to appear very small on the wrist. So that's something that you may want to consider. And again, we can always do a FaceTime call to compare it to maybe another model that you may have in the Rolex line to show you a little bit of what that size would look like for the 34 millimeter case size. All right, last but not least, we do have this beautiful Datejust 36, and this one has a really unique palm dial, and I think it's one of my favorites, especially paired with the 18 karat rose gold and stainless steel on this model. I think it's just a really beautiful timepiece. So this is like the quintessential Rolex timepiece. Anytime you think of a Rolex, you're always going to think of the Datejust series, which they do offer in the ladies and men's sizes. So for the men's, they do offer this in a 36 millimeter, which we have right here, and then of course the more modern size in the 41. So if you are used to the larger timepieces, you may want to consider going for the Datejust 41 model, because again, if you do have that larger size wrist, this one might kind of reach that point of like just being a little bit too small, but I think it's just that right point where, especially if you have gold tones on the watch, this is a really great size. And when we're looking at this on my wrist, I think this is like perfect proportional. If you have somewhere around a 6¾ inch to maybe even a 7.5 inch wrist, I think this will look really nice. Something that's not going to be too cumbersome to wear on a daily basis. I think this is a great everyday wear size. So the Datejust 36 is kind of like that right midpoint of anything that might be a little bit smaller than the 36mm case size might just be reaching to that small point if you're not used to wearing a small watch. So again, Rolex does offer these in the 36 or the 41mm variations. So again, the main reason why I want to go over these sizes is because when you are looking for a Rolex timepiece and you're not quite sure what kind of models Rolex has available, you may not be aware of the sizes because the price is so compelling on these. We do try our very best here at SwissWatchExpo to be as transparent as possible with our clients. And of course, anytime you place an order for these, we do want to call and verify as much as we can. But take a look through these models on our website. And again, they do have some larger models. So if you do have a little bit of a larger wrist, you may want to consider something like a Datejust 41 like I'm wearing today. But go ahead and go through the website. If you need any assistance on finding the right size for you, please give us a call here at SwissWatchExpo, and we would love to help you find your next Rolex timepiece.